Alright, I'm going to be tying a golden stone pattern. This fly is going to be basically a technique that I use to do stoneflies or mayfly nymphs using silly skin. And this fly actually is called the Gummy Stonefly. But the materials I use in this is mother of pearl, silly skin. I'm going to cut that into a narrow strip, roughly an 1/8 inch wide. This particular fly I'm going to tie it on a 200R Tiemco size 8 hook with a black 3.8 millimeter bead. The wing, or the nymph wing cases, are going to be tied using silly skin again, and I'm using these River Road Creation cutters to create that wing pad on the back. I use 2 of those. The underbody is going to consist of this plastic canvas yarn in a gold and ostrich herl. You could use an olive, or you could use more of a golden stone kind of color, more of like an amber. And then I'm going to use the markers for this is a goldenrod and this chart pack, and the back color will be a dark brown, and the same deal. The legs and the tails on this fly I'm going to use are tied with goose biots, and this is going to be more of an amber or golden stone color. First step in tying the golden stone or gummy stone pattern, here I've already attached the bead to the hook. I'm going to go ahead and start the thread wraps. I'm going to bring the thread all the way down past the barb, slightly down the bend. So I get that there, trim off the tag, and I'm going to bring this thread all the way back up to behind the eye, or behind the bead. Alright, second step to the gummy stone nymph will be attaching this 1/8 inch wide by 3 or 4 inch strip of mother of pearl silly skin. Go ahead and peel the backing off a little bit at a time. Discard the backing, and when I attach this, I'm going to attach it directly on top of the hook shank with the sticky side up. So I'll come right behind the bead, tie that down, work your thread all the way back. Keep trying to keep the silly skin directly on top of the hook shank, and you're going to bring your thread wraps all the way back to where your initial tie-in was, slightly down the bend, and then you can just lay the silly skin back and out of the way. So after you tie in your silly skin, your next step is going to be to fold the silly skin back over itself, over the shank, holding it in place, making 2 or 3 wraps directly over that little bump of silly skin that you're creating. And basically what this is going to do is going to allow, when you tie in the tails on this fly, it's going to enable them to stay separated and look a little bit more like the natural. And then you can fold the silly skin back over. You can lay it on your vise somewhere, keep it all out of the way. Next step here, I'm going to take this 2 goose biots, and I'm going to attach each one of these on either side of the silly skin wraps that I made. And you're going to bring that up about even with the point of the hook. Tie that down and wrap it back to where the silly skin meets the hook. To one side. Turn it over, back to the point of the hook. Tie the next one on the other side. Alright. Okay, after you get your two tails tied down, you're going to bring your thread all the way up to behind the bead. Then you're going to take your silly skin and you're going to start wrapping this silly skin directly, make your first wrap directly over top of one another, and then you're basically going to spiral wrap forward, making each wrap slightly or halfway over the previous wrap. And you can obviously stretch silly skin quite a bit. I try to not stretch it here, because by not stretching it you're adding bulk. And what I don't want on this fly is to have a real narrow profile. I want it to start bulking up as I go forward. So take a little bit of care to make each wrap halfway up the previous. Once I get there, I'm just going to hold it up, take my thread wrap, tie 2 or 3 turns behind that, and then trim off the excess. And if you have quite a bit left over, you could save that for the next one that you make. Then I'm just going to go ahead and clean this tie-in point up, and then I'm going to take my thread and come back halfway down the hook shank. So you should almost have, not quite half, slightly short of half. So you're going to have it for, from behind the eye. If you take your scissors, you can kind of measure it. It's going to be a little short of half. And at that point, you're ready for your next step. Okay, after you get that tied down, you're going to take 2 more goose bites. You're going to tie one end on each side of the fly here. Once you get those tied in, there you go. I kind of slightly have them pointed down. That's what it's going to look like. Okay, the next step after you tie the first set of legs in, if you want, you can, at this point, you can go ahead and take your goldenrod colored marker and mark the rest of this back part of the body up. I'm gonna basically come back later on and color that top a little darker, but just you can go ahead and do this and get this part out of the way. So after you get that body colored, you're gonna come back with this plastic canvas yard and this olive, and we'll go ahead and what I do is I'll take it and cut a piece. Show you what I'm doing. Cut about 3, 4, 5, 6 inches long, and you can unravel one piece here. You don't need the whole thing. If I was using this fly to be a larger one, I might use the whole piece, but I'm not going to need that for this. So I unfurl that one section, so I have another little piece here, and I'll just kind of pick this a little bit and rough it up, as you see, like that. And I'm gonna, once I have that, I'm gonna trim this. I'm gonna take it and tie it in. And I'm gonna take a strain or 2 of the ostrich herl. You can do 2 or 3, or whatever you want. You can also tie them in by the tips, or you can tie them in by the butts. I like to usually do the tips because they seem to stand out when you wrap them down. But basically what I'm going to do at this point, hold them all together, twist them up, Twist it up fairly tight. Got to kind of do this a little bit to get it to really come together. So now I have a kind of an ostrich hurl, kind of a dubbing loop kind of a deal. I'm going to bring my thread slightly forward and make about 2 wraps forward here. And we'll tie that down. Trim off the excess. After you get that first segment done, I'm going to come and grab one of these wings that I've pre-cut. And you're going to peel that off. You're going to lay this wing right over the back, directly on top of the hook shank, extending past that dubbing slightly onto the silly skin. Try to make this as straight as you can. And you want to tie that down. And you can come up and trim off the excess. And tie that remaining piece down. Next step, you're going to add the other set of legs. Again, these are same colored biots. Tie them on the sides here. And when you tie it down, like I said, I kind of try to make it a little bit shorter than the previous leg that you do. And you also can cinch down on your thread, which will make these legs kind of spray out a little bit for you. Now I'm ready for the next one. You'll be able to see this one a little bit better. So when I tie it down, you'll see how it'll kind of stand out. And trim off the excess. And this other one's kind of stuck to the body right now because it's a little bit wet from marking it. There you got another set of legs. Now you're ready for the next step. Alright, your next step is you're going to add another underbody here. So again, I'm going to take this goldenrod plastic canvas, this gold color, tie that in, get you 2 or 3 more of the ostrich, trim off, tie in by the tips if you like, either one, tie that down, move your thread forward, bring that all together, and you're going to twist it up. I like to do this fairly tight. The tighter you twist it, the more the hurl will kind of get closer together and it makes the fly look a little more buggy. So once you have that, you can just make 2 wraps. There's 1, 2. The next one will be right at the eye. And just tie that down. Trim off the excess. See how nice and buggy that looks underneath. How buggy it looks on top. And now you're ready for the next step. Alright, next step here. I'm going to take some more biots here, last set of legs. And we'll tie those down right behind the bead on either side of the body. Again, this is going to be a little bit shorter than the previous legs. Hold it on the side, make a wrap, tighten it down, trim off the excess. Do the same thing on the other side. Again, like I said, a little bit shorter than the previous leg. It's kind of stair-stepping this. It's a little bit long, you can always pull it, get it the length that you want. Trim off the excess. Basically, there you go. Got nice legs either side. Now you're ready for your next step. Alright, your next step, I'm going to add my final piece of silly skin, which is going to be the last wing pad I'm going to do for the Stonefly. Go ahead and peel the backing off. Now I'm going to take this sticky side down. You could come back here and trim anything on top that might be getting in the way, because you don't really need this fluff on the top of this fly. So now I'm going to take it, I'm going to lay it right on this top, just slightly covering the previous wing. Let it come over the bead, just like so. And we'll take thread, make a turn or two, tie that, trim that excess, just like that. Take a whip finisher, or with your fingers, tie that down. Trim the excess. There you go. Last step I'm going to do is color in the wing case and the back. I'm going to take a brown marker, color that wing case on top. Both of them. Then I do a little strip on the back of the body, all the way down the center. You can go slightly down around the sides. All right. After that, you can get cute with these. Take your scissors, go halfway down each leg, and bend those. Give it a little more realistic look if you'd like. Not necessary, but kind of makes it look better. A little more natural. And there you are. It's golden stone.